Guardian, it looks like we're inside a ship. I can feel it moving.
That's right, Safiri. This ship is an English ship called the White Lion. It's a ship that's making its way to Virginia right now.
Who are they?
These are the very first Africans to arrive in Virginia. Actually, to arrive in all of English North America.
Where did they come from?
West Central Africa, from a country that's today called Angola. Earlier, another ship that came from Portugal had captured these African people against their will.
How did they get on this ship, the White Lion?
The crew of the White Lion encountered the Portuguese ship at sea and then took some of the Africans from the ship. The White Lion arrived at a place called Point Comfort in what is now Hampton, Virginia.
That must have been really scary for them to leave their home and come to a new place. What did they do with the African people when they got there?
The ship's crew traded about 20 of the Africans to the Virginia Company for supplies that the crew needed. These Africans were transported to Jamestown and other Virginia Company settlements along the James, where they were put to work as farmers and laborers.
How were they treated once they got to Virginia?
Well, we're not 100% sure. Some of the early Africans were enslaved and were forced to work for their entire lives. Others were probably treated much like the indentured servants. Some may have eventually gained their freedom. While we really don't know what the status of these first Africans to arrive in Virginia was, we do know that they were treated differently than the English.
So this is how Africans became a part of America.
Yes, and the legacy of the first Africans can't be overestimated. Their presence has profoundly influenced the evolution of America. It's important to remember that the forced migration of the first African people began a centuries-long struggle for freedom and equality for minority groups in the United States, issues that we're still working on today.
America at this time was like one of those games where you have to build a world, a social network of farmers and planters. And if you weren't a farmer planter, then you were a missionary. So you were either dirt folk or church folk, everyone working to grow on stolen land. Obviously, their native neighbors weren't happy about any of this because their world was being broken while a new world was being built, planted one seed at a time. That seed? Tobacco. A man named John Pori, a defender of cursed slavery, the cousin of one of the early major landowners, was named America's first legislative leader. First thing he did was set a price for tobacco, seeing it would be the country's cash crop. But if tobacco was really going to bring in some money, if it was really going to be a natural resource used to power the country, then they would need more human resource to grow it. See where this is going? In August 1619, a Spanish ship called the San Juan Bautista was hijacked by two pirate ships. The Bautista was carrying 350 Anglicans because Latin American slave owners had already figured out their own slave trading system and enslaved 250,000 people. The pirates robbed the Bautista, taking 60 of the Anglicans. They headed east, eventually coming upon the shores of Jamestown, Virginia. They sold 20 Anglicans to that cousin of John Pori, the one with all that land, who happened also to be the governor of Virginia. His name was John Yeardley, and those 20 slaves for Yeardley and Pori were right on time to work. But remember, think about it. America was full of planters and missionaries, and the new slaves would cause a bit of a conflict between the two. For the planter, the slave was a big help and could be the 4-digit code to the American ATM. Here comes the cash. On the flip side, missionaries coming down the line of Puritanism and Zorar's propaganda felt slavery was a means to salvation. Planters wanted to grow profits, while missionaries wanted to grow God's kingdom. No one cared that the enslaved wanted which to start would have not wanted to be enslaved. They definitely didn't want the religion of their masters, and their masters resisted too. Enslavers weren't interested in hearing anything about converting their slaves. Saving their crops each year was more important to them than saving souls. It was a harvest of humanity, and the excuses they gave to avoid baptizing slaves were Africans were too barbaric to be converted. Africans were too savage at the soul. Africans couldn't be loved, even by God.